The new Black Wall Street. Do it right, build wealth, live life, economic empowerment, real tips, insight on the new Black Wall Street. It's on the new Black Wall Street. Here's your host. The new Black.
Hey, good day to you, beautiful people, man. Thanks so much for joining us here today on the new Black Wall Street to present you guys the Money and Power Show. And we're continuing our journey looking into the contract with Black America presented by Ice Cube and his team. I'm your host, ERGJ, your certified financial educator, CEO of ERGJ Enterprises, ERGJ Black Bazaar, and international best-selling author of the book, The Black Billionaires Club. We're going to do something a little bit different today. I'm going to try to cut down the show a little bit. I'm noticing sometimes that less is more in a sense. So we're going to try to get right into this thing here today. We do want to have a quick word from our sponsor, ERGJ Black Bazaar. Be right back.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, shop Black at the Black Bazaar today. You can check them out at www.theblackbazaar.com, www.theblackbazaar.com. Shop Black, buy Black, all that good stuff. We are going to start our morning here today with a little motivation from Mr. Dr. Dennis Kimbrough here on October 22nd, when we are streaming live across Facebook and also YouTube. So we do this just to kind of get our mind right. The Money and Power Show, it really goes into money being economics, power being politics. But I believe if you're going to approach any one of those areas with a sound mind, you got to prep yourself. And so we want to add in a little motivation to help us get started, get along with our day. While you guys are connecting, let us know where you're connecting from, what city, what state, what country, what city, what state, what country. Love to know just how far our reach is as we're using a virtual platform to connect with you guys here this morning. So our daily motivation, man, today's title is Getting Over. Today's title is Getting Over. What's going on, Tony, Glinda? How are you? Miss Yvette, Mr. Thomas, how are you? Good morning to you. Latia, good morning to you as well. Today's quote comes from Lena Horne, who was a singer. And she says this, and our quote, "It's not the load that breaks you down, it's the way that you carry it." It's not the load that breaks you down, it's the way that you carry it. And here's today's passage for our daily motivation. An overburdened and overworked ant was told to carry a piece of straw across a large slab of concrete. The straw was so long and heavy that the tiny insect staggered beneath its weight. Nonetheless, the ant was committed to completing its task. Everybody put in console, committed. The ant was committed to completing its task. Finally, as the stress of its burden began to take its toll, the little creature was brought to a halt by a gaping crack in its path. The ant saw no way of getting across or around a deep divide. Then a thought suddenly struck. Carefully laying the straw across the gulf, the ant walked over it and safely reached the other side. The ant's heavy load had become a helpful bridge because he was committed to his task. The preceding story is one of commitment. Commitment is the key ingredient in the success of any endeavor. Both husband and wife must be committed to each other in order to develop a happy marriage. The successful salesman must be committed to his product. If we're committed, we will always find a way out, a way to move ahead, even if we're sidetracked or temporarily delayed. Now, the simple value of commitment is that life works better when you do what you say you're going to do. Living up to your word will bring you greater inner strength. Living up to your word will bring you great inner strength. And here's today's affirmation. Here's something that you can kind of repeat to yourself to help you in this area as it relates to being committed, honoring your word. Repeat after me. Because I am committed to my goals, my burdens can be overcome. Because I am committed to my goals, my burdens can be overcome. Because I am committed. And that big word there, commitment, is so huge towards you and I actually accomplishing that which it is that we want to accomplish. So anyway, hopefully that was very powerful, special for you guys here this morning. A little word on commitment. We're going to jump right into our contract with Black America again. This is a document created by Ice Cube and his team. We must understand it's not just Ice Cube. It's a plethora of people in different areas that look to tackle the issues that face us here in America, especially Black America. And this got a lot of publicity because it was something that was presented to both parties as they are running for office. And Cube has been on quite a few shows to kind of discuss his stance. And here's the interesting thing. It's been so funny just listening to people talk about, he's a rapper. He should just stick to rapping. This is not his lane. And I'm like, whose lane is it in politics? And I was thinking last night, I said, to myself, I was like, we got a lot of people that say that they're experts or professionals in this area, but they get nothing done. And so, like, why don't we start looking at results and start saying, okay, who's actually getting something done or trying to get something done? And let's judge them based upon their results, not judge them based upon their discussion. And I think that as we move to that space of results oriented, what were we getting done? I think it would be a lot better place. But anyway, everybody has their own opinion about Ice Cube, who he is, what he stands for, all that stuff as well. But not many people have actually come up with a plan to try and tackle some of the issues that we face here in Black America. So for that, I can respect someone who actually tries to come up with a plan. So anyway, this contract Black America, we started by looking at this from like an overview. But then I said, we really need to go into the details of this thing. So we have covered thus far in our first section, we've covered the representation, lending and reform, federal funding portions of this document, Federal Reserve, finance oversight, data, credit, prison reform, judicial reform, police reform, and I think we are getting now into the FCC licensing. So we're getting down to the home stretch. We should be done with this in the next couple of days, and then we'll take a look. I believe we're going to start taking a look at the what is it? The Platinum Plan from the Republicans, and then we'll take a look at the Lift Every Voice plan from the Democrats. And the cool thing is, in 2020, there is, seemingly there definitely is a focus on, what we can do for Black folk. So anyway, this is a kind of the detailed version of the contract. It's a 22-page document. We're now into the entertainment industry reform and reparations. Understand that a lot of this document has to deal with reparations for African descendants of slavery. So that you might hear that as being ADOS. That's a lot of the language talks about us getting some money. So just understand that as well. So we'll take a look at the entertainment side of this document. And so he goes on in this document, goes on to say in the contract Black America, mandatory funding of Black studios by the largest Hollywood studios, record companies, television studios, networks to compensate for years of lack of support, stereotyping, and damage to Black culture. Each will be required to fund an amount yearly. Black studios will own and produce content by Black creators and will be run primarily by Black leadership. Content can be licensed to major studios. For a race to thrive, it must be able to create art that reflects its own views of the world. Racism still runs rampant through our society, and Hollywood is providing the instruction manual. And so what are your thoughts on that? I mean, I definitely, obviously there's some content that's been created, it's been sold. We have a few companies that are Black owned that are still trying to, survive. In a sense, we saw recently with the whole fight between what's the dude, the guy who owned the Weather Channel? I forgot his name, but he just had a recent. We recently went through that last year And big news there between him and I think Comcast or him and Charter. His Byron Scott, is it Byron Allen? I think it's Byron Allen. I think that's who it is. But anyway, licensing, next point, licensing of public airways to broadcast networks such as NBC, Fox, CBS, and ABC must require Black produced content equal to 20% of the total content on the network as measured by time. Time slots must be of similar quality to other content. The same applies to radio stations and other media given access to publicly licensed airways by the FCC. Minimum, and here's this number again, 13.4% Black cast and crew on all major television and film productions. The crew requirement cannot be waived, but casts that are overwhelmingly white, Black, Hispanic, Native Americans, Asian, etc., can be waived as a reasonable for TV shows and films to be more reflective of reality. Now, this I think is too many plans, too many wannabes. I agree with you, Tony. And I don't know if this is, again, as I read through this document, I'm saying to myself, there are different areas, and I wonder which area will actually begin to be something that we tackle. We go after and try to really bring a solvable solution, a reasonable solution to this problem that we see. As I'm looking at this entertainment industry reform and reparations, I doubt that this would be something that's tackled first, but bringing light to the issues, and especially if we think of Ice Cube being in entertainment, the issues there kind of make sense. Now, do I necessarily agree with all of this? I don't know if it's necessarily about me agreeing or disagreeing. I think it's more about, I look at things from a standpoint of, is this reasonable? Is it reasonable for us to be able to put our energy here to solve? And I just don't know if this is reasonable. Black produced content, 20% of the total content on networks. I don't know if that's reasonable. I mean, I guess I would need to know how much of what percentage is being of our content is on these networks now, which I would assume is not very much. 13.4% cast of all major television and film production. I don't know if that's reasonable. I don't know if that's something that is even reasonable to think that it would happen. So, although again, some of this stuff sounds good in this document, is it something that we reasonably could fight and have real results or real opportunity to win in that area? And so I'm thinking, great to bring light, but then what area can we truly go in and fight for and actually have some results? That's kind of how I look at it. How you guys look at it? I mean, and some of you guys have been here the whole time. Some may just be tuning in for the first time, and this may be your first time coming across this document, which you may or may not know that it has existed, and I believe it's existed for a couple of months. But let's keep going. So, monuments and institutions. Let's see what he said. What's said here: eliminate all Confederate statues rather than destroy them. They are to be kept by the National Archives, Smithsonian Institute, or analogous state facilities. They are to be used only in displays and exhibits designed to investigate our racist past. This is not sanitizing our past, as history exists in books and online. There's no need to display monuments of these types, just as we allow the Saddam Hussein statue to be removed, as well as the Berlin Wall, where doors easily could have been inserted. So I like this idea. Obviously, those who are pro-rebel, I guess you can say, or would not like it. But if it does reflect an ugly past, why not have it in the museum? And we can always go back and look into it versus having it displayed openly, as if we still honor this part of the past. All uses and displays of Confederate flags on government grounds or on property with public access is illegal. Rename all streets, all schools, all public structures, all towns, all scholarships, and etc. named after Confederate soldiers or leaders. Rename with names of Black heroes or white abolitionists. That sounds a little far-fetched. Again, I don't know how many. I mean, I'm in Atlanta, and I don't know how many structures. I mean, if I think about the schools, for example, or streets, I wouldn't necessarily say it's it's kind of balanced, but we do. I mean, I think everybody has an MLK street, but we have streets that are named after after black mayors. We have schools that are named after black folk that Booker T. Washington and all that stuff as well. I don't know about this one. This one seems a little far fetched. How many of you guys are feel like you're impacted negatively when you see a Confederate flag, or and some of these names that are names of streets and schools and public structures, you may not even know that they are named after some slave owner or some Confederate. This part here just seems to be a little far fetched. Stoney said one team need to combine and edit into one plan backed by one unit. Is it possible? You know what, Tony? I never you look at something, say something's impossible, but it's difficult, not impossible. And the reasons I think difficult is, as you said earlier, too many people want to be chiefs, but not impossible, because this document that we're looking at is actually a unified team. It's just, can they unify with other organizations or other groups that are kind of fighting for the same thing? But that's just like, to me, that's just like churches. We got churches that are all separate but still kind of serving similar guys, but they don't really work together. So I think in society we find that working together is not the easiest thing. Is it impossible? No. Is it difficult? Quite possibly. I mean, and we can just look at the backlash that's coming from putting this document out. I mean, just putting it out. I mean, I don't know if we would think, if I would think that other black people would talk negatively about someone trying to do something for black people, but it happens. And it, to me, it's sad. I mean, we look at the when, we look at the why, we look at the how. We do all this breakdown for someone who's seems like they're genuinely trying to do something to push the needle forward for black folk, and that just seems to be a hurdle that I think it's just very difficult to overcome. Even if everybody's given, success has to be based on goals and outcome, unified black economy and empowerment. Absolutely. I don't. And how many guys think that, believe that at some point in time in this world or in this society that we live in, if we're in the United States, how many guys actually believe that black folk will get reparations at some point? How many guys actually believe that? Like, do you believe? I mean, not that it's not an issue worth fighting for, but do you believe that it's an issue that will be resolved with African descendants of slavery actually getting some money from this government? Do you actually believe that is plausible? Obviously, it's possible. And this fight continues. This is not the first document to go out to kind of fight for reparations. I think Bob Johnson did presented something to Congress as well. But do you really think there's enough of us, first and foremost, who will get behind fighting for reparations if the right plan is developed? Do you think it's enough of us who will go out and vote for it? Do you think it's enough of us who will say, even though we're 13.4% of the population, 100% of this 13.4% or 80% of this 13.4%, it was going to fight tooth and nail to get what we believe we're due. So anyway, let's keep going. So I don't know about this renaming streets and all that stuff. I mean, this to me is not worth fighting for, but maybe you guys feel like it's something worth fighting for. It doesn't bother me with the name of a street, the name of these statues. I think need to come down. Flags, flags mean something to people. These street names and scholarships and towns, that don't really matter to me, but maybe it matters to you. A memorial built on Washington, D.C. to victims of police excessive force resulting in death or permanent disability, analogous to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, and all the names and ages are included. So this again is something if I guess if someone dies by police force, in this document saying, hey, we want them memorialized, almost as if I don't know. I don't know about this one. I don't know if I will fight for that. Like, that doesn't really matter to me. Not that I don't to have them memorialized in Washington, D.C. These victims that's almost like, to have them. I don't know. I mean, we memorialize Confederates with statues, so we need to memorialize victims, similar to Vietnam. I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know if I'll be fighting for that. But again, it's something that's in this document, and we'll look at this here as well. This Black Americans' responsibility. So we're getting to responsibility of Black Americans. Let's see what this is talking about. So chronic poverty creates an atmosphere full of negativity, frustration, hopelessness, depression, alcoholism, drug abuse, crime, and violence. There are some of the conditions that plague the Black community, which is dealing with extreme generational poverty. As we begin to gain social and economic equality, it is our duty to clean up ourselves and our community. This contract is a two-way street. Okay. As we gain social and economic equality, we must begin to dissolve any bitterness in our hearts for past wrongs. We must become better citizens who are more productive on all levels of American society. We really must step up after we pass the contract with Black America with no more excuse left in the kitty. Our entertainers should be persuaded to deliver more positive content that leads our youth to make better choices in life. A new pride must develop. With these new opportunities, we must fight against negativity, frustration, hopelessness, depression, alcoholism, drug abuse, crime, and violence. We must fight against negativity, frustration, hopelessness, depression, alcoholism, drug abuse, crime, and violence. How many guys feel like these areas that they're pointing out, man, they weigh heavy on Black America? Negativity, the outlook, frustration, just being totally frustrated with things that are happening in life, hopelessness, like will it ever get any better? Depression, just straight, mental health, right? Turning to drugs and alcohol, crime and violence. How many guys find it to be something that's kind of pervasive or chronic in our communities? Chronic in our community. So this is, I'm interested to see what this is. Holding Black folk responsible as well within this document. I didn't know to think that I would see this. So let's see what this is talking about here. What's going on? Lou Mills said, food for thought, asking Americans to clean up her past is like a hoarder to clean up the house. Too many lies, too much misinformation planted throughout our education system. They are still teaching kids that Columbus discovered this land. I agree, man. The thing is, it seems like the whole system has to change, from educational system, political system, and if you are, you're a believer in the word and God and all that stuff, that your fight is against principalities as well. So this is, I think that concept of that food for thought is kind of what leads to hopelessness. Like, is it even worth? I mean, yes, it's worth fighting for, but will it ever change? And we know change happens over time; it doesn't happen overnight. But I think continuing to bring up the issue, and hopefully not just every 4 years, is something we can fight. Say, you know what, this system is just broken, and we're in 2020 trying to move forward in life and evolve with an old system that just keeps getting amended, not fixed, just band-aids on top of band-aids on top of band-aids to hold up the system, which is a foundation of the society in which we live. This is just interesting conversation. Anyway, so let's find out these points here, then we'll wrap this thing up. I'm trying to keep this thing to 30 minutes, guys. See if you guys like the new setup. But anyway, falsifying documentation to establish descendants from an enslaved person punishable as a crime. All right, so they're saying, hey, if we go get reparations only for people who who can prove that they come from descendants of slaves. And to falsify that documents, along with this, would then be considered a crime. Black businesses who receive loans per lending reforms with over 100 employees will employ at least 50% non-Black employees. So if you're a Black-owned business, saying, hey, if you're going to get loans from the lending reforms, then you must employ people other than Black people. So it sounds like it's trying to make it fair. I don't know. Let's keep going. For all Americans, completion of rehabilitation programs for at least 28 days for first offenses for illegal drug use, possession, failure to complete results is imprisonment. I think we covered that already. As a part of 20% of diverted police budgets, community groups will be organized to work with troubled youth and will have a specific mandate also decrease black-on-black violent crime, other crime, and address gang violence. Community groups will make themselves available in the neighborhoods to provide mentoring and community-based leadership. All Americans guilty of a crime and apprehended agree not to unreasonably resist arrest, putting others in danger. I don't know if that's something that could be monitored. When enrolled in the AJP, which is I forgot what that was, another program designed to assist in education and employment, to meet the requirements expected of all honorees and work diligently to succeed. So there's some points in this document that's saying, hey, we're not just putting a responsibility on the majority. We're not putting the responsibility just on the government. We're going to add in some responsibility for us if we're about it when it comes to this contract with Black Americans. So, but I don't really think that this section here really focused on what it said it was going to focus on. I mean, other than the Black businesses, everything else for all Americans, right? All Americans, right? That's not just, so I don't think you did a good job of detailing enough what's the onus on Black Americans if this is a section for Black American responsibility. This not making much sense to me. I mean, okay, crime, we talked about that, and rehabilitation programs, okay. But the only real thing it seemed to target Black folks in responsibility would be Black businesses, and if you get enrolled in this AJP program. So I think you probably need to do some work on that, Cube, or your team, what really is responsibility here. And then we'll catch up on this tomorrow. We'll finish this thing up, I think. I don't know how much more we'll go through, and I'll leave a link here for you guys. But we're going to start getting into the case of Reconstruction. Now, Reconstruction, I was listening to Chris Broussard yesterday, and he and his team is going to start coming up with Reconstruction. And so I'm looking forward to kind of this is like a piece that was added into this. So there are different groups that are working together to make this document whole, and it's a document that's ever evolving as well. This contract of Black America from Ice Cube and his team, the case for Reconstruction. I'm looking forward to discussing this and find out what this is about here come tomorrow. What's going on, Brother David? You have to want change before the path forward can begin. Absolutely. Life matters. Absolutely. So, guys, we're going to stop right there. And we'll pick up for our last part tomorrow for looking at the case, the contract for Black America by Ice Cube and his team to bring attention to things that impact Black Americans. And not only just bring attention, but to open up dialogue to begin to discuss solutions for all of these different areas that we find in this contract. Well, I'm your host, CRGJ, certified financial educator. Again, I was looking at some things. I said, man, let's try to do a 30-minute show because I know that when I start looking at stuff that's an hour 15, I kind of have to come back to it. And I know it's early in the morning, so let me know what you guys think. 30 minutes is enough to get a little motivation, dive into some things. And then start moving along with our day. Some food for thought. I appreciate that as well. But I'm your host, CRGJ, certified financial educator. I want to say thanks so much for tuning into today's show. We'll be back tomorrow to finish our discussion on the contract of Black America. Until then, I want you guys to remember this: that it takes a village. It starts with us. Let's build as we climb together. We all we got, beautiful people. Matter of fact, we all we need. And thank God that's more than enough. Until next episode, you know what time it is. Mr. DJ hits the music. Oh, yeah. Something like that. I don't want to move. Okay. Well, I don't know. It just stopped working. It ain't working no more. All right, guys. I'll catch up with you later, man. Have a good one.